Hey, how's it going, guys? So today we're going to take a look at Christ Lutheran Church here in Burbank. Come on, let me show you around. So this church was actually constructed in 1941, but it was a little bit hard to get the materials for it because materials were being controlled because this was during World War II. But they finally got it passed, and then in 1961 was when this church was indoctrinated. So this is Martin Luther, and he started the denomination of Lutheranism, which is a form of Christianity, and he started it by being upset with the Roman Catholic Church and with what they were doing. They were the popes and the priests were asking them to pay their way into heaven, and he didn't approve of that. So he nailed the 95 Theses up on the front door of the Roman Catholic Church, and then from there on after he translated every Latin Bible into German, and so that's why Lutheranism diffused into Germany and mainly started it with the German people. So now we're going to talk to Joe Potenza. He's an elder here at this church, and he's going to shed some light on Lutheran as a religion in today's society. All right, so Joe, as an elder, a church elder here, what are your responsibilities and what do you handle?
Well, basically, I'm here most days, and I'll get the phone, and if someone's coming, if they have an appointment, or if there's going to be a meeting or filming, which we do a lot of filming here, whatever, I will be here, basically.
So you're basically, if anyone needs to contact the church, like me today,
exactly.
You're the man. You're the man.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, what do you think are the most important tenets that Lutheranism follows? What do you think are the most important factors of being a Lutheran?
Well,
sorry, I know that's a heavy,
really
weighted
Let
question.
me consolidate it down, make it simple.
Okay.
It's simple. The whole Reformation can be summed up this way. The relationship, like a marriage, is between you and your wife, or you and your God, you and your children, whatever. There's no interference that's more important than that. The church helps facilitate that, and if there's problems, to help you understand and how to deal with them. Mm-hmm. We have the sacraments like communion, baptism, and our belief is that we are saved by grace, that there's anything we can do to earn our salvation, and that liberates us to have a more intimate relationship with God.
I was doing some research before I came here, and the sacraments those are the things given to us by God.
Right, you can find them they trace themselves back to in Scripture.
Okay.
In Scripture. So Scripture was the rule was in the Reformation. If it's not in Scripture, it's not. So everything has to have its origin, not in councils or popes or prophets or anybody, frankly. It has to be found in Scripture somewhere.
So whatever comes from the Bible is considered like a sacrament?
Well, there are sacraments listed in the Bible, but that's a man-made concept.
Yeah,
in a way.
like singing a hymn in church. The hymn isn't.
That's not
the song isn't a sacrament.
No. There's very few sacraments.
Right. Okay. And then, so to get personal, how did you get involved with Lutheranism?
Well, I was born and raised a Catholic.
Oh.
Yes, I was, and I was a good Catholic, and I enjoyed being Catholic. And I started to read the Bible on my own, and one thing led to another, and
you did your own research?
Basically, yeah. It was a process. It wasn't like a immediate rush or anything. But as far as coming here, I would walk by, going to the store or whatever, and I'd see this church. And eventually I called, and Pastor Hirsch was here then, and he invited me, and I've been here since, I guess, 2001, 2002, something like that.
Okay.
Off and on.
So, how does the so you mentioned the Reformation?
Mm-hmm.
How does that, like, that history kind of shape what Lutheranism is?
Well, it shapes the world. And the modern world really began with the Reformation, not the Renaissance.
Okay.
People think the Renaissance was the rebirth, which Renaissance means, but no, the Reformation began in the modern world. And the parallel to, I'll give you a parallel to our technology, internet and everything, would be the printing press. Mm-hmm. Once the Bible could be printed and distributed, people began to read for themselves.
And that was shortly after, because I know Martin Luther translated the Bible from Latin to German.
Exactly.
And then came the printing press?
No, the printing press was, I don't know, I believe the printing press came first.
Okay.
But without the printing press, only God knows what would have happened, because the church controlled the Bible. Mm-hmm. In fact, you couldn't translate a Bible, you couldn't read a Bible. Only the church was allowed, and the priests were allowed to read and then tell you.
Right.
So there was none. As I say, the printing press was their internet. It allowed information to be distributed and here, read for yourself.
And I can only imagine if that was never a thing, the printing press, like the
who
Bible.
knows if it would have succeeded or not, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's there were other movements before Luther. They all died because there was no way.
No way to spread that new, like,
no,
revolution.
It was just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Bible would probably be, like, also really rare. You know, there would
Yes,
be,
oh my God.
The value of it would just
all
increase.
All books were expensive.
Yeah.
No, because there was no printing press. You know.
Okay, so we just touched on, like, the history and, like, how it shapes Lutheranism today. Do you think there's any, like, challenges that this religion specifically faces against society or against other religions?
Well,
like,
society's always changing.
Yeah.
So, and this goes for people, it goes for religions, it goes for everything. Unless you deal with what is arising, it can overcome you. Mm-hmm. So yes, absolutely. I mean, we've seen in our own lifetime how definitions of what people are, what they believe, and
is always changing.
Orientation, etc., is changing. Nothing stands still. I always like to say, if you brought somebody back from whatever era to here, they would say, like, this is like science fiction.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What is all this stuff? Right. We're used to it because it's a slow process.
We're born into it.
You're born into it, right.
Because I know that with studying in this class, this history of religion class, and then, like, a few others that I've taken, I was reading, and I was reading about how, like, religions in the past, such as, like, Hinduism or things of that sort, the way they stay relevant is that they have to evolve, like, with the times. Right. And that was kind of interesting to me because religion is so like, you can't really lose it in time. Like, it's always kind of the scriptures are always going to be there. You know, there's going to be people interpreting them in their own ways, but, like, what's in the scripture is what's in the scripture.
It's always there.
So do you think you foresee anything like that happening with Lutheranism?
Well, I do. No, well, it's not a question of Lutheranism, but just what I always like to say, reading the Bible, as long as I have, you come across things, I never saw that before. Mm-hmm. So there's always discovery. It's a living word. So to say, as with anything, I never saw that before.
It's like rewatching a movie. Like, you're always going to notice something that you didn't notice before.
Exactly. Many of the scientific discoveries were things that were partially known, and people said, well, say if we do this, put this together, do this, So all life is a process where the observation, the knowing, the relationships, etc., can change what and increase what.
Right.
You know, it's like a friendship. You meet someone as time goes on, the bonds get deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still the same bond, but it's deeper.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay. We got a couple more questions,
sure.
but and these are going to be more like about yourself, I guess.
Okay.
So, what points in your life did you feel like your faith was being threatened?
Threatened.
Like, have you ever felt like a challenge with yourself that your faith is kind of diminished?
Yes, anyone can go through, everyone has times where it seems, not threatened in the classic sense, oh my God, there is no God, or something that dramatic, but yes.
But just the trials and tribulations of like everyday life.
Right, exactly. You just say, oh my, how can this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or you feel alone, like, please God help me. A cry for help. So yes, it corresponds to what you're living. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And when you do cry for help, or you are being threatened, I feel like in turn that brings you closer to your spiritual self, or to God. Like that would bring you closer.
It can bring you closer or tear you away.
Oh, you think it can tear you away?
Oh yes, yes. It's like any dramatic moment. It can bring you closer.
Like you're blaming God for something.
Some people, yeah. There's a movie I saw once that expressed the point perfectly, where this woman loses her child, and the woman dies, and she's up in heaven, and the child's right there, and she says, "Mommy, come." And she says, "No, I won't. God let you die. I won't." And she just, like she just won't.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, well, why? But people change, mm-hmm. and everything affects you.
Her heart was probably scarred.
Exactly. The emotional scar is, unless you're willing to, that's why forgiveness is so important. Because how many people have thrown away relationships and then looked back and said, I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah. So I know we were talking a bit earlier, but how often do you actually? You said you were in like 2002 when you got into this church.
It was shortly after 9/11.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it was early 2002.
So how many days a week for how many hours do you come here?
Well, this is somewhat recent because I was working then.
Mm.
So it wasn't until I retired that I started to spend more time here, gradually, more time,
right.
and so forth and so on. And I wrote a book, which I hope to get published.
Still working on the publication?
Yeah. And so it's I used to be in the office in the school, and then I started to use, because the computer's here and everything, I used the office here.
Okay, nice. So would you say you're here like 5 times a week?
I would say I'm here almost every day.
Okay.
I'm not as long as...
Dedication right there.
No, well, it's just close to home, and it has everything here. And no, I don't spend, the whole, like on weekends, I'm not here as much. Obviously, if I have somewhere to go. So it's not set hours.
Right. I mean, you got everything you need here, like you're all set up in there.
Exactly.
All right, so the last question I have for you is going to be, actually we're done.
Oh, okay.
That was it. We nailed it all.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck on your book.
Okay, thank you.
All right, it was nice having you guys with me for the tour of Christ Lutheran Church here in Burbank, and good luck on your projects.